From an undisclosed locations for reasons of security and insecurity, we present to you tonight MnRTV live show. And tonight we're going to be talking about world events and supernatural prophecies with the one and the only LA Marzulli. But before I get to that, tonight I present to you the one and the only, my co-host, the madman from Montreal, Mario.
Yes, it's good that we're back. We're finally here. We're still here. Nothing happened. We're surviving like every other creature on Earth, but we're God's creatures, right? So
That's right.
it's all good. It's all good. I'm all set. We're all set, right? We ready?
The thing is that tonight Santa Baron, where is it?
San Bernardino.
Yeah, that's it. They had a false flag attack. I would believe of what 14 people are dead.
But it's okay. We're going to be talking about that in the news, right?
Yeah. So
It's
anyhow,
stick around, people, because we're going to be discussing all these things. That's why we're here. We're here for that, right?
that's right. And this has been brought to you by the Montreal Anti-Illuminati Task Force.
All right.
Let's
Shall we commence?
Let's begin because we're getting LA Marzulli tonight to be talking about ISIS and all kinds of different stuff
that he knows. Anyhow, let us commence. This is me. This is Mario. In case you don't know me, that's Robert, right?
That's
Robert,
right.
Down there. But anyhow, now I'm going to be switching on over to show you, to give the introduction, to do the news, and then Trish shall be coming on, and then we'll get LA, right? So,
yeah.
So here we are. Let me switch on over, right?
As soon as you switch on over, because we got an action-packed show tonight, don't we?
Yes, we do. It's always an action-packed. There's so much to talk about. So now here it is. This is our MnR production, Mariolaur.blogspot.ca. This appears under all the shows, the description, or everywhere on Conspiracy Talk, on Google Plus, and on Facebook.
That's right. Yeah, and guys, just refresh. If you see this link here, you just refresh and you'll see us live.
And if you don't see this, obviously you need to refresh, because that's where you click to see us live for the future shows and for new people that are seeing us.
And it's a worldwide transmission, and we're very happy tonight that we're going to have LA Marzulli. All week we've been excited about getting him, eh?
No, definitely. I always look forward to our guests. I look forward to doing the show, period.
Yeah, for sure. We always look forward to doing the show and seeing who's out there and pleasing the people, because that's why we're here. We're here to show and to expose the real deal.
Now, here's the beauty about this show, as usual. There's that beautiful chatango where we can talk and interact with us and ask our guest or us questions if you like. And here, this is when we started. So if you want to see our first videos, you know, it's all on here. I love this blog. Anyhow, shall we get to the pictures of the week?
Let's go.
Yeah, right. So now here.
Global expansion of U.S. military involvement. Turkey has right to defend its territorial integrity from Russia, but the world has no right to defend its territorial integrity from our hundreds of American bases implemented all over the world and all our unjust wars. Is there any American bases in Canada?
We are American almost. Some people say
is there American bases in Canada?
Some people say we're the 51st state, Robert.
Eh?
People say we're the 51st state.
Okay, but the thing is, we can't just go in there if we want to for vacation spot.
That's what they want us to believe, but I'm sure we could. And look what he says right on here. Just be hypocrite. That's what.
Oh yeah, I didn't see that. Food emerges. Yeah, that's Barry Sapporo.
And here are all the post of when the temporary bases and all that. I like this picture. It's full of details. But we'll be talking about Turkey in the news also, so stick around. All right, Suivant next.
A society whose citizens refuse to see and investigate the facts, who refuse to believe that our government and the media will routinely lie to them and fabricate a reality contrary to verifiable facts, is a society that chooses and deserves the police state dictatorship it's going to get.
Yes.
They'll only wake up at the end. They're only going to wake up at the end when they realize that there's a police state and everything, and they'll be saying, "Oh, what do we do? What do we do?"
But it's simple. What they should do now, what we're doing, investigating the facts, and looking and doing your own research. That's before we get to that point where, oh, what do we do? What do we do? Let's investigate now. Let's not be sheeple, right?
But they can't do that. They can't investigate because they're too busy on their iPhones.
Right, and watching television and CNN,
And Kim
right,
Kardashian and reality TV.
and being brainwashed.
The 9/11 myth. 19 hijackers directed by Osama bin Laden took over 4 commercial jets with box cutters, and while evading the air defense system NORAD, hit 75% of their targets. In turn, World Trade Center 1, 2, and 7 collapsed due to structural failure through fire in a pancake fashion, while the plane that hit the Pentagon vaporized upon impact, as did the plane that crashed in Shanksville. The 9/11 Commission found out that there were no warnings for this act of terrorism, while multiple governments failed to prevent adequate defense.
In other words, 9/11 inside job.
Yeah.
That's it with that. Always keep that in mind. Everything else is a lie, like 9/11.
Pray for the homeless, hungry, lonely, and heartbroken. That says it all in post.
But don't forget also to pray for the government. You got to pray for everybody, even your enemies, believe it or not, because they all have hard hearts, you know? Their hearts have been like hardened. Exactly. That's why you have to pray for them all. That's the only solution to all the problems. Praying. Anyhow, so we've on next.
With all this surveillance and spying, how could pedophiles, rapists, murderers, drug criminals, violent drug cartels, slave traders, despots, demon-worshipping child killers, terrorist traders, etc., be unhampered in their activities unless those who are the ones running the surveillance and spy grids? It's true. It is damn true, this, because look, all these people that are doing all these vile acts, they get away with it. And if we were so surveilled as much as they say, these things wouldn't happen.
Yeah, well, like exactly San Bernardino today. Well, what the hell, man? What, they didn't know that these guys were going to do that? Come on. Come on, honestly. I don't buy any of that crap.
The moment you realize no one is interested in the truth.
That's true. That's very true. Nobody is interested in the truth. Because
No.
people like to live their lies. That's why.
Where to mass media. Speaking of mass media, TV here. My job is to keep you distracted while restricting the limits of public debate. I sensationalize talking points to keep you focused on the trivial while ignoring the important questions. I never contradict the status quo because what I really do is deliver state-sponsored propaganda. What I omit is often more significant than what I share.
Now, this is our show is the opposite of what you're reading there, right?
That's right. That's from the boob tube.
Actually, we're distracting the television that's doing this. That's what we're doing.
Not for sure we are.
By the way, all these pictures are all found in the Conspiracy Talk and Google Plus, on Google Plus and Facebook, both Conspiracy Talks. We've on next.
Okay, right here. The Chinaman built the railroad. The Indians saved the pilgrim, and in return the pilgrim kill him. They call it Thanksgiving. I call it your holiday, hell day.
Yeah, because this week was the American Thanksgiving, right? So that's why this was so popular. Speaking of popular, look at this.
Legal, illegal, mob, normal, because television says so. Yeah, people fighting at Target for Black Friday.
Yeah, I find that so ridiculous. You know, it's like, it brings back that moment, like when you say to yourself, that time I remember going and getting myself a jumper key at $29. All right. 2 gigs at the time. All right, what a great deal. I came home. I said, oh, what a great deal. I really got the best deal. A week later, still the $29. A month later, still $29.
I bought my MP3 player back in 2007, 8, 9, eh?
Bulk. It's a big scam. It's just there to fool people.
I make money, more money. White men tell the children that their ancestors settled here. when the truth is that they invaded us, they murdered us, and they raped us until we barely existed. Happy Thanksgiving. That's the natives.
Poor natives. I feel bad for them. Really do.
Genocide.
Speaking of,
Black Friday. When people trample others for cheap goods mere hours after being thankful for what they already have.
now,
You think it's gonna get like this if everything collapses? People are gonna be finding this for something like food, water, medicine.
oh
They're,
yeah,
they're gonna shoot themselves. I mean, if they're fighting over stupidities.
oh for sure they want to go crazy like this over food. Oh man, for sure, man. That this is just over nonsense. Imagine over things that we really need. Food, people beating each other. It's coming to that.
Did you say your land is rich with oil and gold, plus you have no federal bank? Looks like you need some freedom. We are deploying troops to liberate you as we speak.
Oil. I have things to talk about
You
oil
do?
in the news also, so stick around, folks. I mean, there's just so much I've been digging up, so we've on next.
If you get your facts from the mainstream media and repeat them like you personally did the research, you're brainwashed sheep.
And you know who's going crazy right now? CNN with what happened in San Bernardino. You're just like going crazy and trying to fit it in people's minds. Garbage, you know? Just to
It's to take away the
distract them.
guns. Beware of false knowledge. It is more dangerous than ignorance. George Bernard Shaw.
Yeah, look, he's watching false news.
And
I
he
mean,
looks
false.
scared. And he looks scared, eh?
Yeah, it looks. Yeah, well, that's what they want. They want us to be afraid. Not going to give us good news. They're going to give us just bad news to sadden our lives. Like this was sad news.
Isn't it
All these
strange
things.
coincidence? They were running terror drills in Paris at the same time the attacks occurred. Well, guess what? All these attacks also had terror drills running to protect the conspirators during the crime. The attacks of 9/11, the London bombings, the Madrid bombings, the Oklahoma City bombings, the Norway Oslo attack, Sandy Hook Elementary, the Batman shooting, and the Boston bombing are all starting to notice a pattern. Are you starting to notice a pattern?
Yeah.
No, and apparently San Bernardino 2 days ago they were running drills with what happened.
So you could add San Bernardino to the list, OEL.
So you could.
So that's the pictures of the week. Oh, they just, people post them. I find them, I share them. We find them, we share them. Everybody is a happy community, and that's what counts. And this is found on the Conspiracy Talk on both Google Plus and Facebook. Speaking of Facebook, Conspiracy Talk, here it is.
Yeah, yeah, and it keeps on growing and growing. The conspiracy talk. I mean, remember when we had 100 members, what 3,573, and 14 new members today. So that's good on conspiracy talk on Facebook, and the pinned post shows our show, who's coming on, and once that's out and the new show comes up, it's recorded. We put it up there for you people, and we love the conspiracy talk because we put up a lot of stuff there. We learn also, and people can post up stuff.
There's Mr. Miller.
Who posted something about Donald Trump? If that's a real Illuminati card, he had asked me that, and I've never seen it before. I think they just added it.
Now, I could have sworn I seen this before, though.
No, I don't know. I've never seen it. Maybe, but not the card I have.
Anyhow, I mean, that's the beauty of this. We're always uncovering stuff, right? Us truthers are fighting to find stuff, right? And we have
Yes.
to all work together and do this. Of course, we do get people that troll in the group and that put up all kinds of garbage just to try and discredit us, but we got to stand up and keep fighting for ourselves and the country and wherever we are for humanity. All right, so now shall we start with the news?
Go ahead.
Okay, so now look at what we came up with.
One possible suspect in San Bernardino shooting down. Police standoff continues.
Now, as the week goes by, next week we'll uncover more stuff. But this is just fresh off the press, and we said I might as well just cover this false flag, shall we say?
Yes, police say shots fired, suspect down in area near California mass shooting, unclear if related. Police estimate up to 14 people dead, more than a dozen injured in San Bernardino shooting. Police say there are up to 3 suspects. May have fled in dark-colored SUV. Obama again calls for more gun control in the wake of mass shooting. FBI and ATF teams investigating. Police estimate 14 people were killed and 17 other people were injured Wednesday when at least one person opened fire at a social service agency in San Bernardino, California.
I wonder if that girl's going to appear in San.
I was going to say, yeah, that appears everywhere. I wonder, eh? Well, I guess we'll soon find out, eh?
I mean, there's no point in me showing this. I mean, people could just watch CNN. Well, we suggest don't watch CNN because it's mainstream garbage. But this is what's all over. I mean, I don't know.
Look already.
First of all, we know why this is happening, and right there he's going to say we have to get rid of gun. We have to get the gun control. We have to get rid of guns, right? That's his thing. That's why this is happening for sure.
I agree with you. And the thing is, it's just false flag operations right there, a psyop.
And it's all I wonder how many actors they put together.
Well, last week with a crisis actor, there was a crisis actor website that you can join. But I wonder how they shut up these people. They must be paid well, eh?
I'm sure. But they're paid. I'm sure that they signed their lives away. Look, and probably an actress over here. In the picture. Or in the video, we can't play the video.
No, but this is just starting now. This is breaking information.
And last week there was some other shooting too, right here.
And what I saw, we can't post it now, but we might as well talk about it. Apparently, one of the was it a cop or something? The picture, he had a Freemason hat on.
Yeah, with the logo. Well, next week we'll uncover
more. Yeah, I just want to say that now because this was coming on the information as we were preparing for the show.
All right. So as we go along, I like to show what's happening on Chatango as usual. You know, all the time.
Yeah.
Now I want to talk about deeper. I want to get deeper into what happened in Turkey, obviously, right? Because that's kind of important.
Turkey's downing a Russian warplane. What we know.
Yeah, this is from BBC. Mainstream garbage, another mainstream garbage.
President Vladimir Putin has condemned Turkey's shooting down of a Russian warplane on its border with Syria on the 24th of November. It's the first time a Russian aircraft has crossed Syria since Moscow landed airstrikes against opponents of President Bashar al-Assad in September. What happened? Both Russia and Turkey says the Russian Su-24 all-weather attack aircraft was shot down by Turkish F-16 at the Turkey-Syria border on 24th of November.
Could this be war? But one thing's for sure, we're going to go deeper into it. This is just to give a quick recap of what's happening here. There are some how do you call them, gas lines that they want to do.
Pipelines.
Gas lines. What are they? Pipelines. Pipelines.
Yeah.
They want to. That's what this is all about.
Don't they want to build it through Israel?
There's so many stories about how they want to build it, but we're gonna go switch on over to switch on over to more news that I found, and you will see that that there's something fishy going on here. Like this, for instance, this next news bit I found very, very suspicious.
France and Russia agreed to coordinate strikes on Islamic State, François Holland says. Russia and France have agreed to coordinate strikes against Islamic State ISIS jihadists after bilateral talks between French President François Hollande and Vladimir Putin in Moscow. The strikes against Daesh will be intensified and be the object of coordination, Mr. Hollande said at a press conference with the Russian president, adding The strikes would focus on transportation of oil. There it is, oil.
Ah,
The black gold oil. Like
and look at the two globalists that are there. Look at those. Those are globalists. Me, I'm telling you, I don't trust none of these guys.
Mr. Halan, who was in Moscow to push for a broad coalition against ISIS, also said Syria's President Bashar Assad has no place in the future of Syria. Russia is one of the main backers of the Syrian government. Mr. Alan said Russia has agreed to target only Islamic State and similar jihadi groups. The West has accused Moscow of attacking mostly Western-backed rebels fighting Mr. Assad. Okay. But you know the information was coming on that apparently now ISIS says that you will find no peace to Russia. Your homes will find no peace, and they're going after Russia. ISIS. I was just reading that before we started the show.
Yeah, there's so many things that keep popping up. It's like anyhow, the next one that I want to bring up that I found, it's like it's all tying in because I did so much research and I was like, but how come, how come this is happening? This is the next one. This is the 27th.
Putin accuses Obama of leaking flight details to Turkey after Russia released video of S-400 SAM deployment in Syria. As reported 2 days ago, one of the first decisions a very Russia took in the aftermath of the shooting down of its Su-24 by Turkish F-16 was to dispatch a Moskva guided missile cruiser off the coast of Syria to provide air cover for its jet operating near Latakia, as well as sending an unknown number of ultra-modern S-400 SAM batteries to Latakia to make sure the tragic incident from Turkey never repeats itself by sending Turkey a very clear message that the next time a Turkish warplane engages in a Russian jet, Russia will immediately retaliate using ground forces. That would mean war, wouldn't it?
Yeah, but there's not going to be war. This is just fear. There are rumors of war, like I keep saying, you know. There's like the Target.
Yeah. Oh, a lot of information there.
United States, they want the oil too. Because it's about feeding Europe the oil from Syria. Because apparently, well, what I'm gonna, I know, I'm holding up the suspense here, holding up the suspense, right? I'm holding up the suspense.
Are you now?
But you know what? I'll tell it now. The suspense. Hold on here. This is what is happening right there. Look at this.
Huge oil discovery in Golan Heights, Israeli
Media.
right there, right?
Yeah, this is why.
A big oil deposit has been found in the Israeli occupation Golan Heights with enough reserves to last Israel for decades, according to the country's media. The Israeli presence in the Golan Heights is in dispute. The region is internationally recognized Syrian territory that has been occupied by Israel since 1967, Six-Day War between Israel and several Arab states. UN Resolution 242, 1967 demands the withdrawal of Israeli armed forces from the territories occupied in the conflict. Israel disagrees with the wording of the resolution, says the territorial are disputable.
Now here's the Golan Heights, and there's Syria. You see Syrian Republic. So that's why they're there. It's about these guys, this oil going to Europe, France, and Russia, but Russia wants to also give. It's like it's crazy. It's unheard of when you think about it. The United States wants the oil for themselves to make money. It's all corporations.
Well, it's corporations that make money. They think the more money they have, the more their lives are going to be prosperous. But we're only here for a short time on this planet, anyway. Compared to eternity.
But you see, there you have it. It's all here. This paragraph says it all.
The reported discovery coincides with the civil war raging in Syria. Israel has been accused of taking advantage of the conflict. The Israeli-occupied Golan Heights also border Syrian territories controlled by anti-government rebels. Israel has reportedly provided medical aid to the rebels and has responded to rocket fire from rebel-controlled territory by striking Syrian army positions. Israel explains has been that it holds the Syrian military responsible for all events stemming from its territory.
Now, you want peace in the Middle East? It's very simple. We stop using petroleum for cars and we use water and or hemp. There's other alternatives, and there won't be any more war. But these
I don't
globalists,
think Exxon and Texaco and companies like that will agree with that, eh?
yeah, because why? Because the globalists, well, it's the globalists who are behind it. You know. Speaking of, look, the next one I'll bring it up. This is it too. You know, it's oh, we're worried about pollution, this and that. But if we're using hemp and water, we're not polluting.
No, we're not. Climate Change Summit. World leaders gather in Paris to mull over global risks and challenges.
Now, why am I putting this up? Because these leaders, these globalists, I went to Paris. First of all, Paris. That's why there was the attack, right?
Yeah,
So like that, people weren't able to protest against the globalists going there, right? Is that one reason?
that's a good reason. Yeah.
And then the other thing, why would people be protesting? Because they want to know what the hell they're really talking about. I'm sure they're not talking about the global climate.
No, that's just a ruse for what actually is going on behind the scenes. And look, they're all there.
All the globalists, look at that, including Putin. I'm sure he went. No, I think he was there. You see, then it makes you wonder if Putin would be against these people. Why is he there? We know that clearly. Nobody could attack Russia, right? Russia is impossible to take down. Nobody has done it in the past. It's like, so even if you get what I'm trying to say, right?
Yes, I do indeed.
It's like Putin shouldn't be going there. That's why I keep saying, I wonder if Putin isn't a globalist or what.
Well, his crest has the same crest as the Rothschild crest.
I don't know. I don't trust any of it. But this, we're not going to have, we won't.
No, 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 no. We're not gonna go through this, but
I
yeah,
mean, you get our point here. You
the
know, look
links
at
will all
this.
be up on the show.
The
Links will be up.
UN, yeah. All the links will be up in the description. So people could, yeah, even corn oil, like someone put on our Chitango, right?
Yeah, the corn oil problem.
So that's our take on all of that globalist. Now speaking of the labs, look at this. You see what this is?
CERN, I think.
Yes. News on CERN.
Yeah, new record set at CERN.
Hold on, let me make it bigger. I don't
Yeah,
think.
do it because then I'll need. Okay, that's getting better. Good, good, good. Now I can see. The Large Hadron Collider has achieved collisions between lead nuclei at the highest level since it was opened. These experiments being carried out at CERN are aiming to understand the state of matter in the universe just after the Big Bang happened. Jens Jordan Garhuji, professor at the Niels Bohr Institute at the University of Copenhagen, said the energy concentration achieved has never been realized before under terrestrial conditions. 30,000 particles can be created. It is believed this collision will help research develop new and detailed models of the quark gluon plasma that existed a few billionths of a second after the Big Bang. They want to find out exactly what existed before the Big Bang, after the Big Bang. But what I'm more interested in, what was there before the Big Bang?
Oh, we'll find out soon. We'll really find out what these people are up to. These Satan worshippers, devil worshippers, right?
Luciferians, my friend, Luciferians.
We will find out eventually.
Yeah, we will. So we'll see what happens. I mean, CERN is doing all kinds of experiments as we speak.
Well, hold on now. Hold on. Let me see if I could just stretch it out a little bit. No, that's too small. Because we want to make sure that people can can see. But this will just skim through it because it's like
Ah,
the
yeah.
NSA.
NSA begins new program, surveillance program, as bulk metadata collection ends. The National Security Agency will end its mass metadata surveillance program this weekend, 2.5 years after Edward Snowden's revelations. However, the NSA's replacement reasonable compromise is far from being celebrated by privacy advocates. And this
Well,
is kind of information RT.com.
well, we're not going because this is a big one too. But it's just that we want to know what we want to show what the NSA is up to. I mean, we'll just
And
skim through it, but
with a different program, but also ordered the law at the same time, so that they're putting in something new, mass surveillance, even more evasive.
but
You know,
but this is for our American friends because of Patriot Act.
the one when I just in the Patriot Act to collect all phone records. It said it will have to contact communications companies holding the data for them. Unlike general warrants leaked by former NSA contractor Edward Snowden, such as the one issued. Yeah, okay. But over here it just says that the NSA, what they're gonna have to go to the phone companies, if I understand this right,
Yeah.
to get information.
No, but they have
Yeah,
already information about us.
they probably break into the phone companies themselves and do it.
I wouldn't because they probably own the phone companies too.
Yeah. No.
Judy. Anyhow, we'll go on to the next one, right?
Yeah. Yeah. They're trying to see what happened before creation. I'm talking to someone in the chat room. They want
Yeah,
to,
that's their goal is, but we're never going to find out.
and they
They're
want to
probably
see if
find.
parallel universes exist.
And before we go to break, right? What would it be? Well, Trish, what
Yeah.
would it be without talking about UFOs, right?
Okay, one of our favorite topics, UFO. Yes, right there. Okay. Pictures, mass green UFO wormhole sightings over Cape Town sends Twitter into meltdown.
Could this be part of CERN?
And I was going to say that Twitter CERN also wants to create a wormhole.
And what does the NSA have to do with this? Well, they're just monitoring us to see that what we're saying is if false, to see how stupid people can fall for the false stuff, right?
Yeah, exactly. There's the picture right there. The green UFO was witnessed and stopped by several people. There we see it. On Twitter, UFO was trending as a variety of posts about the odd sightings went up. The scene was so bizarre, some even questioned if it was a portal or wormhole opening the sky from another dimension. One UFO spotter said this was all over Twitter a few hours ago. A few people posted sightings of this green glowing disc over South Africa.
It's right here.
Yeah, right there.
What could this be?
One wormhole opening up to another wormhole. That's what I'm thinking
Yeah,
here.
here's more.
The poster claimed it was a UFO he saw 3 years ago returning. Now, is that a UFO or is that like a wormhole? But, because there's like a yellow glow in it. I looked Google Earth map, but after making the video reporting it, Google did delete from their maps within 2-3 months.
Why would they delete it?
Because something's there that they don't want us to know. They don't want the mass public to know or to realize what's going on.
Because they want to hide it. That's the thing. They want people
Exactly.
to concentrate on San Bernardino and what's the other place?
Paris, obviously.
Like that, we don't talk about what they're talking about. All the globalists in Paris, what they went to do down there. How do we control these guys? That's the thing. That's what they want to talk.
Yeah, and even ask the quiz of what it is. You saw the quiz up there? It says what people were thinking. Is it a UFO? a wormhole. People can actually click on it.
So I guess shall we call her up?
Yeah, follow up because after this at 8:15 Eastern Standard Time, we're gonna get the one and the only L A Marzulli to talk about world prophecies and a whole lot more because we had him on our show last month and he's coming back to finish off the interview with us, and we're really excited to have him on, aren't we?
Yeah, because we want to know what exactly he talks about in his book, right?
Exactly, which I
Because
read from cover
I
to cover.
I really enjoyed his book. It was nice to check it out, you know.
Exactly. So we'll be back after this break, and we'll be talking with L A Marzulli, author of Days of Chaos.
So don't go anywhere, right?
That's right.
Stick a resound. And here she is. Here's Trish.
September 10th, 1993. That was a very special day for sci-fi and conspiracy theorists everywhere. It was a day that the false TV sensation The X-Files aired for the very first time. The show, tapping into our culture's burgeoning mistrust of government and an increasing interest in the UFO phenomenon, became what is known as the defining series of its era, Wikipedia.com. But Ken, you might be saying, this blog is about books and authors, not TV. What's the deal? Well, I'm getting to that. But first let me say that I, along with my entire family, became huge fans of this show. My mind whirled with the possibilities. Like many people, I was fascinated with the prospect of alien life visiting us from afar, possibly researching us, observing us. What was their intentions? What did they want? Of course, it took a little while for the real question to enter into this Christian's mind. How can a believer in Jesus Christ and the Holy Bible believe in such things? What would the existence of such creatures do to Orthodox theology? How could I reconcile doctrine with countless eyewitness testimony, including my own, towards these strange phenomena? Thankfully, in the midst of the popularity of the X-Files, I was introduced to a novel that truly gave me a fantastic explanation for these things. Not to mention, just a fun, exciting read. Whether you agree with L A Marzulli's theories or not, there's no denying that he has spun a fantastic yarn in his Nephilim series. The trilogy, starting with the book entitled simply Nephilim, weaved a story that would have made X-Files creator Chris Carter ahem, green as the little guys he liked to write about. Here's the synopsis. 2 years ago, Art Mac McKenzie was a respected newspaper journalist with a wonderful family and a great future. Now he lives by himself, eking out an existence as a freelance writer. His faith in God, humanity, and virtually everything else is gone. What's left is a pile of bills and the ache of his eldest son's death. Enter a woman in a psychiatric ward with an awful story of how aliens abducted her, created a baby within her, and later stole it. From her seemingly twisted account springs the potential media story of the century, and more trouble than Mac has ever imagined. In this engrossing page-turner, Mac follows his story to Israel, where he comes across the remains of one of the Nephilim, an ancient biblical giant. Served by demons and born of human women, Mac's encounter is just the tip of a terrifying supernatural iceberg, for the Nephilim are back on Earth. And Mac has stumbled onto their secret. Nephilim winds from the Holy Land to the Nevada desert, through mind-numbing dangers and choices that will affect the future of the human race. Just one hope stands between Mac and destruction: the power of the risen Messiah. But can it save Mac and his children from the evil spiritual forces that spawn the Nephilim, or fulfill his agonizing quest for meaning and purpose in life?
Thank you very much, Trish. Thank you. You're amazing.
Exactly, and she loves coming on the show because she loves being on a worldwide transmission, doesn't she?
Yes. Oh, there's something I have to tell you because we were talking about Syria and all the petroleum that there is there.
Yes.
That would explain why all the governments are pushing for the refugees to come here. Does it make sense? Now the pieces fell right into the puzzle. Remember last week I was freaking out how come our government's letting in these these refugees from torn war in Syria, because Syria has lots of oil, so they're benefiting. It's all about profit. It's not about um, saving the people. Because if it would be like regular people from Africa, let's say, because there's people in Africa who are worse conditioned than the people from Syria, right?
Right.
They wouldn't be letting, they're not letting those people in. But because in Syria there's petroleum and there's ways of making profit, that's why they say, yeah, we'll get those refugees here, we'll find money for them. That would explain why they're letting in the Syrian refugees. If there's a lot of oil there, it's about money, it's about making money, it's
No,
about
don't forget what they
business.
want to do. There might be some ISIS members hiding.
Yeah, but they don't care as long as
No,
they
they
have
don't.
the oil.
We get stuck with the problem over here.
Yeah, but Dave, like I said, now another thing, another point. Someone last week said, yeah, Trump, how come you guys, I just want to clear something up about Trump that we said last week about that he knew about 9/11, right? There was something we knew, you and I, or whoever is watching the show, we know
Yeah,
that 9/11 was an inside job. But I was just freaking out that actually Trump came out and said it. That's what I was freaking
and
out.
Donald Trump was on Infowars today on the Alex Jones show. I didn't watch it, but it makes you wonder what the hell is going on. I mean, what? I mean, I don't get it. Why is he on?
Well, why is Alex Jones having him on?
Yeah, it's like Alex Jones. I don't think Alex Jones would have a future president of the United States. That would be something, though. If I don't see Trump winning, though.
No, we know who's gonna win. Or it's been spelled out already who's gonna win the next presidential. Who's gonna be the next one?
It,
Hillary Clinton. It's
it,
been leaked out from the Bilderbergs. Remember,
yeah,
we posted that up.
it's been chosen from the Bilderberg. I mean,
Now, if the source is right, now that's the different story, right?
yeah.
We'll see. We'll see. We're just saying, well, what we saw
And,
people
and, and
predicting.
on my phone, I just got Donald Trump tells all on the Alex Jones show. We're gonna have to listen to that later on, I guess, eh?
Yeah, if someone can, you know what, whoever's watching this show, if you can post it up on the conspiracy talk, you'll be more than glad to actually look at it once the show is done, right?
Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah.
I mean, it's important that we see what he's talking about and everything. Why would Alec Jones have him on though?
I really don't know. It's really surprising, though.
It's a mystery. There's always a mystery with all this.
I mean, I don't get it. I mean, I'll look listen to the interview, and that means Alex Jones is for Donald Trump.
Well, why would he have him on? It's like we would never have him on this show unless if he really wants to come and we'd have to ask him like questions he wouldn't want to talk about. Example, what we were saying about Syria, bringing in these refugees, is it because, to get rid of them so that they can have ways of getting that petroleum here faster, or distributing the petroleum to Russia, or because Russia wants the petroleum there. So, there's so much.
And slowly, the Russian bear is waking up. And we know this for years. The Russian bear is gonna wake up in the end times,
Yeah.
and that's actually happening now.
Well,
That's what I'm thinking.
we you know what, like I always say, whenever the truth always comes out, you can hide the lies all you want, but truth always comes out.
That's
Because
for
the
sure.
truth is like a flashlight, eh? You turn on the flashlight, what you see the light. But
Exactly.
yeah, you're right, Susie. You're dead right about that. Russians act more Christian than the good old US,
All right.
USA.
Speaking of which, I think it's time we get L A Marzulli on.
Yes, people are
All
right.
right. Well, let me
Let's do this.
get him on.
I'm ready, Eddie. Are you ready, Eddie?
Yeah.
All right, all right, all right. Here he comes on. Yes.
Hi, LA. How are you?
Good, man. How about yourself?
Good, good. Been pretty busy myself. So welcome to the MNR show. Welcome back.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Good to be here.
Yeah, exactly. So where do you want to begin? I mean, I'm sure it's all over the news of what happened in San Bernardino.
Yeah, I've been following it. There's a press conference going on right now. Let me just tell you what I've. This is 12:46. According to what I've been keeping up with, there were 3 shooters and they all have escaped. There was also a suspicious device that police are detonating. Upwards of 20 people allegedly have been injured. As of this post, there was no known motive, but there does seem to be a connection between this and the recent Planned Parenthood shooting. Several hours later, according to the police, this is at 2 o'clock, 12 people died in the shooting spree. As of this post, the suspects are still at large. Again, no motive is known. I am sure Obama will use this as an excuse for yet another executive order. Rounding up all the guns will not stop the criminal element and those who kill for religious reasons from carrying out their gruesome tasks. And boy, is that ever true.
Yes,
Absolutely.
it sure is.
Here's another one. This came in at 2:30. Riverside Police dispatchers have broadcast a general advisory. Now remember, I cannot vet this, that the suspects involved in the shootings in San Bernardino may have fled in the black GMC Yukon heading towards Waterman Avenue roughly 40 minutes ago. The broadcast indicated that they were unconfirmed reports. The suspects were male and of Middle Eastern origin, armed with AK-47s and wearing body armor. 2:30, Riverside Police dispatchers have broadcast a general advisory that the suspects in the shooting may have fled in the black GMC Yukon. 3:50, update the California mass shooting scanner reports suspect named Farouk Saeed, 14 dead, 14 wounded. 3 killers still at large. This just came in. This is at 4:30. I'm listening to live TV, and so far there is no mention of the suspects. However, the statements below are true. We'll know more soon. So that's where we are. We know also. I posted this at 5:10 this evening. Apparently, there was a massive police drill happening in the area at the time of the shooting. What's troublesome about this is this seems to be the norm when something like this comes down. I can think of, I mean, it's happened too many times to be coincidental. Why? Just like Sandy Hook, just like the Boston bombing, there's like this whole military drill going on at the Boston bombing about a bombing, and then there is a bombing. It's like, is it just coincidence that this is happening, or what? But as of, right now it's 5:18 on the West Coast. We know nothing. There's been no statement issued by any media, any law enforcement as to the motive or, of course, the identity of the shooters.
So we don't know if it's ISIS to begin with, but they said somebody Middle Eastern, right? So the information is going to come on later, I would imagine.
Well, that's just from one website, Pamela Geller's website, and that's it. Whether or not that's true, it has not been vetted. So there's, the caveat is, look, until we know, there's a whole other thing going on about there's some sort of a dispute at the party. In other words, these guys walked in, there were 3 of them, but a dispute at a party doesn't sound like getting the 3 guys together with AK-47s and because of a dispute and opening fire. That doesn't sound right to me. There's something wrong with that scenario, but I don't know. I mean, and that's the trouble. See, situations like this, it's the fog of war, and things get reported which are not true. And so there's just, cool heads have to prevail. If Pamela Geller's information is correct, and it is, they actually list the name of the guy, Farouk Saeed. If it is Farouk Saeed, we're going to know about that. If it's not, then we'll find out, hopefully, the causation or the cause of this heinous act.
And when you were on our show last time, 2 days later, what happened to Paris attacks? What are your views on this atrocity?
Well, I mean, I blogged about this, Robert, incessantly on the blog,
yes,
LA Marzulli.wordpress.com.
Indeed.
The bottom line is the Obama administration has already allowed over 10,000 Syrian refugees into the country. We have no idea who is in that group of people. We have no idea. The fact that Obama would do this, meanwhile, our soldiers who are coming home from Iraq and Afghanistan, who desperately need help, are not getting the help that they need. So there's a great imbalance here by what this administration is doing. Coupled with that, we see the million people, Muslims, the million Muslim refugees, which have stormed into all throughout Europe, which is changing the cultural landscape of that continent. It'll never be the same again. And with this shooting in Paris, you would think that President Hollande would do something. Not doing anything. Now, I read today that apparently there's been a Band-Aid on the situation. Finally, the Parisian authorities, the French government, have closed 3 mosques, which is good. That's a beginning. They need to deport these people. There's a post that I had on my blog, LAMarzulli.wordpress.com, several days ago, which basically showed the amount of people on the planet who make less than $2 a day. America takes in about 1 million immigrants every year, and they assimilate. We can't take in the world's population. You just can't do it. In India, there are literally millions and millions and millions of people. The subcontinent of Africa, Asia, and South America. There are many countries where people living there they make less than $2 a day. There's no education. And so to bring them here is not the answer. The answer is to educate these people in the country of origin and have them bring their country up to a better standard and a better way of life. By having them come here and get on the public dole is not the answer. And that's what Europeans are finding out, that these people who have come in have no skills, there is no education. They're already on demand. So it's very bizarre. But the bottom line is this, and I still hold to the statement that if any of the security guards at the Bataclan in Paris had been armed, then that entire situation may have had a completely different outcome. You remember that at the Pamela Geller event where they were going to draw Mohammed cartoon contest, which I think that's that's basically an incendiary event, and I don't support that event at all. Does she have the right to do that with the Bill of Rights and our amendments? Of course she does. She has a right of free speech. Do I condone it? Absolutely not. No more than I would condone the viewing of Piss Christ, which is this crazy artist who took a crucifix of Jesus, and I don't believe in crucifixes, but he took this and basically submerged it in a vial of his own urine. Now that's a foul and disgusting thing, but I'm not going to arm myself with weaponry and go out and shoot this nutcase. I'm not going to do it. I will, however, use my pen and my words and my mouth to decry his actions as being highly insulting, and would say that we should boycott his work. That's how we get back at him. The difference is in the Pamela Geller cartoon contest in Texas, there were security and there were police around the event. So when the 2 terrorists, armed to the hilt, by the way, with automatic weapons, showed up, they never got out of their cars. There was gunfire in exchange, and those 2 terrorists were killed dead. Welcome to Texas. See how it works? But in Paris, there is no such thing. And what's amazing is Obama, even in the midst of this San Bernardino event, and you can see it on different reporters, it's happening again. We've got to do something. Well, mounting up the guns is not going to do anything because the criminal element, and you know this as well as I do.
Yes.
The criminal element will always be there. They'll always get the guns, and the same thing will continue. There are those that want to harm Americans and kill us. The obvious solution to it is more security. Have security guards that are packing. And guess what? You can stave off this kind of disaster and heinous slaughter. But this is all ties right in with the new book, Days of Chaos. And that's, I mean, this is where we are. We are in the days of chaos.
Fantastic book, by the way.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you so much, Robert.
We'll be talking about it soon. We'll be talking about certain chapters that my audience wants to speak about.
Okay. I'm ready.
Okay, all right. ISIS. What can you tell us? How did this begin? What does it stand for? Who funds them?
Well, ISIS originally was the Islamic State of Iraq and Levant. The Levant includes all of Israel. Obama always refers to ISIL or ISIS or Islamic State as ISIL because he wants to include the Levant, and of course the Levant is Israel. Make no mistake about it. ISIS or IS want the entire area to be controlled by their version of an Islamic caliphate and their version of Sharia law. They are thugs. They commit acts of atrocity and genocide, and the only way to do this is to really get in there with ground troops and destroy these guys once and for all. ISIS, I believe, was created by Americans, and basically the CIA. They were trained in Jordan to topple Bashar al-Assad. Isn't it interesting that everything is being split along political lines where the Ruskies, the Russians, and the Chi-Coms, the Chinese communists, are backing the Shia Muslims, and the U.S. and her allies are backing the Sunni Muslim, and there's the divide. So, you know, Jordan is Sunni, Saudi Arabia is Sunni, and ISIS is Sunni, which is why they slaughter the Shia incessantly when they round them up in Iraq. And there's been lots of genocide and lots of clips on YouTube where we've seen this type of genocidal actions. But they were created by the U.S. to topple Bashar al-Assad, and they went rogue. And that's why they have all the equipment that they have. It all came from us, and it went rogue. And there's been articles about that. I mean, I'm just not making this up. I mean, I posited that was the case when ISIS began to carve great swaths of Iraq. But later on, it was other people vetted that. You know, the intel that we got seems to indicate that ISIS, in fact, was an American creation that went rogue. They were trained. They were all Muslims, all Sunni Muslims, to topple Bashar al-Assad, who was not Sunni or Shia. He's Alawite, but the Alawites align more with the Shia than they do the Sunni. And all this is being divided right now along the two branches of Islam, Sunni Islam and Shia Islam. That's why the Russians are there, which in my opinion is an absolute unprecedented event. Unprecedented. We've never seen anything like it. Are we looking at the nascent beginnings of the Ezekiel 38 war? In my opinion, we are. So that's how ISIS was created. That's what it means. They're not going away. You know, the French voted to, after the Paris attacks, to attack ISIS. But unless they really get in there, and I mean really get in there, you need boots on the ground. You need to go after these guys. And, you know, the U.S. has to come clean. Look, there's a rogue government that runs this country. And it's been riding roughshod over the United States since the Kennedy assassination. They control the media. They control who's ever in office. This is why they're so afraid of the Donald Trump, because he's not a Washington insider, and they know they can't control him. And as I posted on my blog today, if anything happens to McDonald, you know, anything at all, we know. We, the people, know. And we're not going to listen to this kind of nonsense here. You know, we know that if something happens to him and he's taken out in some kind of way, we're going to look at you. We're going to blame you. We're tired of the lone gunman nonsense. We're tired of the Sirhans who even to this day have no recollection of killing RFK. We're tired of the Lee Harvey Oswald lookalikes who seem to show up all over Dallas and Mexico. And of course, the fatal headshot coming from the school book depository, which by all means of any type of physics would have thrown the president's head forward, but it did not act that way. It went back to the left. We're tired of it. We're tired of hearing the same nonsense year after year, and you know, everything, the media being in the tank, and you know, vote for Jeb, 2 years before Jeb's even elected. And by the way, he's back up in the polls again, which is alarming to me.
Not good.
Yeah, it's the last thing this country needs is another Bush in office. And that's why Trump is so, is 36% in the polls. He's double digits above his closest competitor, Carson, who I believe will fade now as more. He just doesn't have the stamina. But Trump is into this thing, and bully for the Donald. I mean, I just, part of me, I like the guy. When he stands up and says Muslims were dancing in the streets. Oh, immediately he's attacked. Oh, you can't say that. Well, you can. Muslims were dancing in the streets. Thousands of them all over the Middle East, dancing in the streets. So, where there were thousands of them in maybe New Jersey, but there were several in New Jersey on the rooftops dancing. That's been vetted. So, maybe he's confusing some of the stories. I don't know. But the Arab world rejoiced at the events of 9/11. So, that's reality, and that's what's going on here.
I keep getting information that ISIS is going to attack Rome. Have you heard anything about this?
About what?
ISIS attacking Rome.
Again, those are rumors. Certainly not today.
Yeah.
ISIS is going to create terror wherever it goes, and this what we may be looking at. And some people will, freak out at this, but I blogged about it. Let me get a swig of water here.
Go ahead.
If we are in the last days, then we are looking at the rise of the Luciferians. We are looking at the fallen cherub, i.e. Satan, who is in control of this planet, the God of this world. Okay? If we're in the end times. If that's true, then we should see the culmination or the beginnings of a one-world government and a one-world religious system. And with the Pope saying the things that he says, and sort of embracing Islam, in my opinion, we are seeing the beginnings of that. There's something called a Hegelian dialectic, and that is this. The puppet masters create a crisis and then have a counter-crisis followed by a synthesis. That's a classic Hegelian dialectic. And so I would put forth that what we are looking at is being carefully orchestrated. And what I mean that any leader with half a brain does not allow upwards of 1 million refugees into their country when their country can't sustain that. Welcome to Germany, France, and basically the EU. And the people there are waking up. The Poles are demonstrating, or many of them, thousands, hundreds of thousands of them, are coalescing and coming together and demonstrating and saying, we don't want these people here. And the reason why they don't want them is because they know they won't be assimilated. They don't want to assimilate into a Polish way of life. They want Sharia law. They want what they left in the Middle East. So why doesn't Saudi Arabia take these people? And of course, the Saudis won't take any of them. So what we are looking at, in my opinion, is a carefully orchestrated event. Allow the terrorists to create fear. Allow the Muslims to come here and Europe and other places and create chaos. And then the powers that created all this mess will step in. They'll have the solution. And isn't it interesting how we've heard this for decades? Out of chaos, order. That's the tagline of the Illuminati. Out of chaos, order. That's precisely what we're seeing. This is the first leg of a dialectic. The second leg is coming. The third leg will be some sort of a one-world religious system, a one-world government. We will see perhaps the rounding up of guns, although I don't think they'll ever do that in this country. The backlash in this country will be enormous. But that's what we're seeing. And I believe that the elites who are in league with dark forces, specifically supernatural entities, and this gets into this is why when we talk about this stuff, Robert, it can lose a lot of people, and I get that. But here's the deal. If the God of this world is Satan, and we know it is from the biblical narrative,
right?
And we know he comes with all signs of lying wonders, and we know that he's going to make a last stand and create a global government and a global religious system. Then if that's the case, then we must, and if we are in the last days, which I believe we are, then this begs the question, are we seeing the nascent beginnings of that? And in my opinion, we are. And, call me crazy, but that's what I think is happening. And thank God we still have free speech, and I'm going to say it.
Okay, yeah, that's for sure. Now, in your book, you talked about how can I say this? The rise of anti-Semitism and Zionism. Now, what is Zionists? I mean, I hear that all the time, that the Zionists are the Rothschilds. Are you able to clear this up?
The Zionists are not the Rothschilds. And this gets into the whole anti-Semitic diatribe. And what people don't realize is that there's always been a continuous Jewish presence in the Middle East, even after the diaspora, even after the event of 70 AD, when Titus and the Roman legions came in and destroyed the temple and carted off upwards of, hundreds of thousands of Jewish people and spread them out throughout Europe. But there's always been a Jewish presence in the Middle East, a continual Jewish presence in the Middle East. And that's never gone away. So the idea that the Rothschilds somehow created Zionism is just nonsense. They didn't do this. And what the problem is, people don't know their history. At the end of World War II, when the Jews were being liberated from the concentration camps, what was interesting is they hopped on boats and they tried desperately to get to Israel. What most people don't understand is the Rothschilds, if they were really keen on this, then why was the British blockade blocking these boats of Jewish immigrants coming in the Holy Land, which is what really was the case? And the Brits actually pulled out of Israel and basically, hands off, we don't care. And the moment they did that, that was the war of independence that Israel had to fight. They had no help. There were no allies. They almost ran out of ammunition. They had 3 planes that they smuggled in from Czechoslovakia. That was their air force. And those 3 planes, and I can tell you about that story. I've listened to it live. I actually met one of the last surviving pilots that flew that sortie in 1948, 1949. And that's what turned back the Egyptian army. There was no help from the Brits. It's just nonsense. People need to know their history, and they don't. But they go on sites like anti-Semitic sites, or they listen to guys like Tex Mars, who are virulent, rabid anti-Semitic entities, people, and they just spew this hatred and venom. But they don't understand that all this was written and prophesied. That read Ezekiel 38. It's right there. That in the end days I will gather you from the 4 corners of the earth, reestablishing you in your ancient homeland. I mean, what about that don't we understand? And so Tex Mars says, these really aren't the Jews. These are the synagogue of Satan. These are the Khazars. Nonsense. It's just made up. The whole Khazarian thing was made up in 1850. It has been proven, just like the protocols of Zion, to be false. And yet the anti-Semites bring this stuff up over and over and over again. Look, here's the deal. The Jews, when they fought the War of Independence, 1949, okay? I just want to get my dates right here.
Okay.
Give me a second. Israel War of Independence. And that was, 1948. That's when the Arab-Israeli War happens, okay, in 1948. Most people have never heard this story. I didn't know about it. I was fortunate enough to be sitting, probably the only Christian in a Jewish synagogue in Thousand Oaks. And Dan Gordon came up, and at the time we didn't know it, but he had a guest with him. And the guest was buried in the audience, and Dan introduced him at the end of the story. Here was the story. It's 1948. And the Brits pull out, and then when they do, the Arab nations begin to attack Israel, or what the Jewish state, which is not a Jewish state there, but they go in and they want to wipe out the Jews. That's what they're going to do, okay? So at this moment, there's a column of 10,000 Egyptians about an hour to 2 hours away from Tel Aviv. Remember, this is before Israel's capital was Jerusalem. So they're an hour or two away from Tel Aviv. And they're going to take Tel Aviv, and that's the end of it. It's over, okay? So Israeli Defense Forces, the IDF, which was not even called that at that time, the Irgun, get together with the pilots, the gunners of the Israeli Air Force. There are no avionics on the planes. There is no tower. There are no maps. There is no radar. There's nothing. There are 3 planes which have been assembled, smuggled in from Czechoslovakia, brought for 10 times the amount that they normally would have sold for. The Israeli government purchased them for over $30,000 each. They were being sold for $3,000 each. So it gives you an idea. They were taken apart and smuggled into the country. That's the Israeli Air Force. They had never flown before. The planes had never been tested. And what's more, and this was the people, the Jewish pilots knew this, that these pilots were assembled in concentration camps. And oftentimes that the slave labor deliberately sabotaged parts of the engines of the planes, so when they got up and they flew, they would crash. So the pilot's mission was, there's a column of Egyptian soldiers about 2 hours outside of Tel Aviv. Go to that column, strafe them, here are some bombs, drop the bombs, try to turn them back. The 3 planes take off. They don't know where the column is. They have no avionics. You know, they've got a compass, and they set off, and they see the column. They meet up with the column. They begin to strafe the column. Remember, this is war. They drop their bombs, and they return home. The Egyptians figure that this is a sortie, this is a scouting party, and that the real Israeli Air Force is going to show up and blow them all away. So the Egyptian column turns and retreats back to Egypt. Absolutely unprecedented. Most people don't know this. That's how the war was fought. You know, there's no British guys fighting next to the Israelis. You know, the Israelis almost ran out of bullets. So here's the punchline. Dan Gordon tells the story, and then he says, and now I want to introduce you to the last surviving pilot who flew that sortie in 1948. And he introduces this pilot, the man stands up, and the room goes bonkers. People start weeping openly. I just sat there in stunned silence, and I teared up. I mean, there wasn't a dry eye in the place. That's how Israel got its independence. They fought for it. So this whole thing of Zionism and everything has been, you know, turned upside down by the anti-Semites. And of course, anti-Semitism is growing in ways that I've never seen.
What is the synagogue of Satan in the book of Revelation? What does that refer to?
Well, that's an interesting, again, the book deals with the synagogue of Satan. First of all, this is written 2,000 years ago, and it says, those who are Jews and are not, right, and are not, but are the synagogue of Satan. Now, he's writing this, John is writing this 2,000 years ago, and he's writing it because the synagogue of Satan was in Pergamos. I mean, the whole scripture is taken totally out of context, and it's used to somehow say that the Jews who are in Israel now, who say they are Jews but are not. But that's not what John the Apostle is writing about, for crying out loud. It's 2,000 years ago. It is taken completely out of context. Completely, 100% out of context. Hitler had no trouble figuring out who the Jews were. Absolutely no trouble at all. And that's why over 6 million of them were killed, murdered in the death camps. And most people don't understand this either. And I write about this in the book. Most people figure there was about 100 concentration camps throughout the Third Reich. Okay? Try 20,000. 20,000 holding areas, death camps, crematoriums. That's what was in the Third Reich. It was a death machine. 20,000. So the number of 6 million actually may be maybe very conservative.
I have a question here for you. What is LA's thoughts on the Talmud?
Well, the Talmud is simply specifically the Babylonian Talmud. The Talmud is specifically Jewish people who are Jewish rabbis who are commenting on the Torah. And I don't believe in the Talmud. I've looked at it. I know certain parts of it, and some parts of it are absolutely wacky. I get that.
Yeah.
But that has nothing to do with the Torah or the Tanakh, which is our Old Testament. So we need to separate that, and we need to understand that, yes, there are Jewish rabbis who hold to the Talmud, but not all of them do. And, we need to look at the Torah and hold to that.
All right, jumping on to other stuff, UFOs. In your book, you're saying that there's gonna be one day there's gonna be 3 mile crafts coming out in the sky, and I think if I believe it, you said in the book that it happened in Alaska. Is there any links to that? I'd love to see that.
That is actually in the book, Further Evidence, which
Yes.
we wrote. I just came in, by the way. Fox News just said one of the government has a Muslim name. So I'm going to go on the Fox News site right now and see if that's been an update. I don't, we've already talked about that Farouk Saeed.
Yes.
The name that I got from the Pamela Geller site, but no, none of that's been vetted yet. So it's hard to say, what we're looking at. Police killed 2 suspects. One, a woman.
A woman now?
Supposedly.
Oh. Yeah, there's always a woman now. What? I hope it's not a suicide bomber.
Bizarre.
Very. The news is coming in.
Very, very strange.
Yeah, it is.
I have nothing to add to that. It's just, again, that's all. It's hard to say what we're looking at. So there's nothing really new. So what was the question?
About in Alaska, wasn't it the 3 mile? Wasn't there like mile high crafts that we've seen in Alaska?
No, it was a mile wide craft.
Yes.
What this was, they were pilots who went on the record. I actually spoke to the MUFON coordinator. Here we go. San Bernardino slaughter, 1 man, 1 woman, possible terrorism. Well, the thing is it domestic terrorism or is it
God.
Is it jihad? We don't know.
At least not yet.
We just don't know. So we'll see. I mean, eventually all this will come out. I don't think it was. I honestly don't think that this was a dispute. 3P. This is a coordinated attack. And they carried this out very, very deliberately. So we'll see. But the pilots went on record, and they were flying, and they saw this 1 mile wide craft in the sky of Alaska. Other people have seen it. There was and I blogged about this. It's also in Further Evidence across the English Channel. A mile wide craft, 2 mile wide crafts were seen by multiple witnesses. I mean, I'm not making this stuff up.
No.
So this, of course, is the Coming Great Deception. There are 3 chapters in the Days of Chaos. One is about the Coming Great Deception, the UFO phenomenon, and the Great Falling Away. It's all about the ongoing UFO phenomenon. So, there we go. And it's look, at some point, Robert, when these things show up, that's the deal breaker. That's the game changer. That's the paradigm shift that changes everybody's paradigm. It does so instantaneously.
Do you think Muslims will be turning to Christ?
They already are. Actually, in Iran, hard to believe, but Iran, thousands of Christians or thousands of Muslims are coming to Christ. Thousands. The mullahs, the government in Iran, are terrified of Christianity because it's the one dynamic, it's the one ideology which can change Muslims. And of course, we all know that anyone who changes their faith in the Quran, it says kill them.
Right.
So it's just this is great. This is from Change.org. And now, of course, we're going to do another candlelight vigil. If I see another one of these things, I'm gonna shoot myself. Really, it's just nonsense. What we need to arm people. That's what we need to do. People need to understand that the fanatics are in the country already and they're not going to leave the country. And if this turns out to be another jihadist episode in this country, and I'm not saying it is, we don't know yet. But, you know, we'll see. We'll see. At some point, it's going to be released. And if it is, I rest my case. I mean, what is it going to take for people to understand that the jihadists are already in the country, and we're going to see more and more and more of this? The answer is not to round up the guns. The answer is to arm the citizenry. And because then people think twice about getting. See, if anyone was armed in this facility, if there had been security guards, the outcome might have been different. If there had been security guards in the Bataclan in France, the outcome might have been different. Maybe there were only 10 people who would have been killed before they stopped the shooters instead of 129. See where I'm going with this? Just like in Mali, you know, same thing. You know, what was the 29 people died in the Mali attacks, and on it goes. And for Obama to say it only happens in America is so disingenuous, with all due respect to our president, but it's so disingenuous because it happened in Mali, and it happened in Paris, and it happens every single day in Muslim countries in the Middle East. Every single day. Suicide bombers blow themselves up. Violence, honor killings. It happens every single day. So quit cherry picking. You know, that's being disingenuous, with all due respect, sir.
Do you think ISIS is even more dangerous than Al Qaeda? I think they've taken the #1 spot.
Oh, I agree. I mean, ISIS is the Islamic State is certainly #1 right now, and you know, this is again, it's not going away. It's not going to go away, and unless people understand what we're faced with in this country, what our leaders, our idiot leaders, have allowed into the country, you know, they're never going to get a handle on it. Never going to get a handle on it.
They want to create a worldwide caliphate, meaning everybody turns to Islam. Is this? You think this is the end? LA? Do you think this is the end time religion? It'll be Muslims.
No, I do not.
What do you think will be the one world religion?
I think it'll be an amalgamation of something that we don't even know. I think it'll be based on the knowledge of the so-called extraterrestrial. That's what I think it'll be based on. Okay,
and when do you think these extraterrestrials will show up, like make the presence known?
Perhaps a nuclear event. A nuclear event, I think, is going to bring back changes or bring about changes that we've never seen. That's what I think.
You have any time frame for that?
Well, I think we're close. I mean, I really think we're close. Something's going to happen at some point. So.
Have you ever heard of Dulce Base?
Have you ever seen what?
Have you ever heard of Dulce Base in New Mexico?
Oh, of course, absolutely, sure.
Okay, what do you think of it? You've heard of Nightmare Hall and Level 7. Does it exist? Is there any proof of this?
Well, we don't know. We have no idea. I've heard of Nightmare Hall. It begs the question: why would people make up stories like this, right? Why would people make up stories like this? So, it's just if it's true, then it's alarming. Here we go. Listening to Bill O'Reilly. No reference yet. Apparently, O'Reilly is plainly stated an Islamic name. Again, I go back to what we had earlier today. That the name was. Where is it again? Farouk Saeed. That's the name that we got at 350. Farouk Saeed, but we don't know that, and I can't go with it. That's all hearsay at this point, but we'll see.
Okay. We'll see. Yeah, we're gonna have to see. Do you think Obama is a Muslim in hiding in the White House?
I do. I think that Obama is a Shia Muslim, which is why he does the deal with Iran. I believe, with all due respect to our president, that he is a Muslim. He even said it once in an interview. My Muslim faith. Well, how can he possibly say that? And then the interviewer said, "You mean your Christian faith?" Oh yeah. He didn't even catch himself, which is sort of telling, in my opinion. So, look, I don't know what we're looking at yet with him, but he's no friend of Israel. I think he's made that very clear. And, he seems to size. I mean, why would he invite the clock boy who didn't do anything, right? This clock boy, Ahmed Mohammed, took the innards of a real clock and put it in a little metallic case. The thing looked like a bomb, okay? And the authorities did right, in my opinion. Now, of course, Ahmed's family is suing the city for $15 million. I mean, this is the way the game is played. And this is why you need to understand that these people, all they want to do is create chaos. And this is a form of jihad. This is what it is. And isn't it interesting that Mohammed is invited to the White House by Obama, but we never see any of the Christian refugees whose entire families have been wiped out. In fact, none of the Christian refugees get to come here, but we bring in the Islamists. So I don't know, man. It's I think it's very, very lopsided, in my opinion.
Have you heard about? I know this might sound a bit weird that Michelle Obama is a man.
We've heard that. We've tried to investigate that. There's a couple of videos which are very alarming. If it's true, why would Obama refer to his wife as Michael instead of Michelle? I don't get that. I've seen the videos. I think it's a stretch. Anything's possible.
Because sometimes people say that, and I get into arguments.
I think it's a stretch myself.
It could be. It's very possible. Getting back to the UFOs. Now, if they're doing human experimentations, how come? What are they doing down there? They're building an army for Satan, I would imagine.
Well, when we interviewed Chuck Missler, Dr. Chuck Missler, for one of our watchers, in fact, Chuck's been in several of our watchers series, but Chuck basically says in a very offhanded manner, Satan's out number 2 to 1, he's building an army. And that's what I believe the end game here is to the abductions and the implants. That's exactly what I think is happening. And I just think that we're starting to hear reports of hybrid beings, which are seen by people. And unfortunately, I think it's true.
So do you think the incubus and succubus ties in to aliens?
Wait, do I think what?
That's what the writer said. Incubus and succubus, do they tie into alien abductions?
Incubus and succubus are male and female demonic spirits, which have sex with men and women during the night. That's what they are in the classic sense. That's all demonic. So, based on that, what we see happening with people who are abducted and who claim to being forced, basically being raped by female hybrids. If they're male, they're being raped by female hybrids. Sometimes if they're females, they're being raped by male hybrid beings. So we hear this. But can we vet it? No. But I have had people that have had encounters with hybrid beings. At least they seem to be hybrid beings.
Are these hybrids, are they walking among us now? Can we see them in the streets?
That's I'll tell you a story.
Yeah, go ahead.
Pastor Mike McClung had an encounter several months ago. I blogged about it. It was in did an interview with Pastor Mike, and that was on our monthly news magazine, our monthly e-magazine. And in that, Mike related the story. He was out doing a prayer walk and jogging. And in the distance, he saw a woman, a very athletic, coming at him. And the woman was very tall, 6'3", 6'4". She had striking blondish, almost whitish blondish, platinum blonde hair. And, that was kind of odd, Mike thought. But, there are basketball players, female basketball players who look like that. So as she got closer and they made eye contact, the first thing Mike noticed that her eyes were strikingly pale blue. But he was on guard. He felt uneasy and he wasn't sure why. And he began to pray. And as she got closer, her eyes went black. And at this point, is when Mike became, verbal. He started rebuking this thing in Jesus' name, and as it ran by, as this very tall blonde female ran by, she turned her head, bared her teeth at him, and growled. Now, in my opinion, that's a hybrid being.
And there's no way, like I don't know, because one time I said I read something that if you want to smoke them out, you have to wear Oregon, which is some kind of chemical or something, and they run away from that.
Wait, say that again?
If you want to, how can I say this? If you want to smoke them out, like these reptilians, whatever you want to call them, you have to wear something called Oregon, Orgone.
Yeah, that's a bunch of nonsense.
Okay, I just want to clear that up for the folks on my show.
Total nonsense.
Okay, yeah. Now Muslims, the thing is, once they convert, can they go back? Can the devil like make them go back to being Muslims?
Well, I mean that's a very rhetorical question, and all we know is that many Muslims that convert to Christianity stay Christian because they find that and I'm not talking about a false conversion. I'm talking someone who becomes born again by the Spirit of the living God. That's a different deal. But there's no stats on that, so it's almost impossible to answer. I wouldn't know how to answer that. I have nothing to base my answer on. Okay.
So do you think the U.S. government is in contact with aliens as we speak, and there's a deal to abduct people?
Well, I think that a certain section of the government, the Black Ops section, know all about all this stuff, and that's incredibly bizarre when you think about it. But we've had too many people come forward and tell us this, and it begs the question: why would these people make up that story? And if you get more and more people like this, saying it, then what are we looking at? Is there an element of truth to it? And in my opinion, there is an element of truth.
The military-industrial complex, are they building UFO ships from back with alien technologies from Roswell?
Well, we've heard that rumor. Are these questions you're getting, Robert?
Yes.
Okay. By the way, how much more time do we have?
We got about 10 more minutes.
Okay. We've heard this before. The idea of technology being back engineered. So it's nothing new. We've heard this. Can we vet it? No. And that's what's maddening about all this. That a lot of it's just hearsay. But when you go to witnesses, and the witnesses I try to talk to are always first person. So it's secondhand information if I tell it to you. The witness I'm talking to saw it, experienced it, handled it, or whatever. So that's how I vet it. And then I'll publish something like that. But again, the problem with all this is all of this is hearsay. Here's something I just came across. Yeah, Tariq Saeed. Here's the guy. Identified suspect worker at the center was acting strange immediately before shooting. Farouk Saeed, that's the guy's name. Don't know whether that's true or not. So it's just really hard to vet. Really, really hard to vet. Really hard to vet.
It really is, eh? I mean, because the information is just coming in and out. It's all coming in as we speak.
Yeah, it is.
So we don't know what to make of it sometimes.
Yep. It's just really hard to say.
It's just more and more. It's gonna be all over the news, all over CNN. Do you watch a lot of CNN?
No, I don't watch CNN at all. I'm always on the net, and as you've been speaking, that's why I'm sort of hesitating because the brain can't do two things at once. But I've been looking at lots of different sites trying to get information.
Okay, yeah, the brain is very complex. Do you believe we can go into other dimensions by getting out of our bodies?
Well, that's exactly what shamans have been doing for thousands of years. and we are forbidden to do that because the entities a person contacts comes from, come from the second heaven. The second heaven is the place where the shamans go and to get the knowledge. And this, of course, we are forbidden to do this in the guidebook. This just came in. Bill O'Reilly said it as plain as day. Apparently, this guy has an Islamic name, so it appears to be jihad, but we don't know. I mean,
It's domestic.
Just don't know. It hasn't been vetted yet.
Okay. Yeah, one question. Over here, does Jesus have long hair?
More than likely, yeah. If we look at the Shroud of Turin, which I believe bears the forensic evidence, or is the forensic evidence of the Yeshua being crucified, the hair is very long. It's about shoulder length.
Okay, but is it bad to have an image of Jesus?
Is it what?
Bad to have an image of him?
Well, that's not an image, is it? And God didn't create that image.
No, but like the Catholics, like they have images. I would imagine that's not so good.
We're told not to make an image. The Shroud of Turin is an image, but it's not. A man did not make that. It was not crafted by a man. That was a supernatural occurrence, in my opinion, which created that. This just in from Fox News: 2 gunmen in office massacre killed. FBI not ruling out terrorism. So it's starting. The pendulum went from a dispute to not ruling out terrorism just in the last 45 minutes. But we don't know. We still don't know what we're really looking at here.
I mean, I've never seen so many shootings all the time. That's all you hear of in the United States somewhere. It's getting like too much.
Well, it is, and it's not going to go away. It's just not.
Are these all false flags?
Well, like I said in the beginning, isn't it interesting that there's already a drill happening in the area as this comes down? So I'm bothered by that. I'm really bothered by that. But let's see what transpires. We can't jump the gun.
No.
We can't jump the gun.
Do you think what do you think of false flag actor, crisis actors? Does that exist?
Well, what happened at Sandy Hook, what happened at the Boston bombing, has driven the conspiracy theorists, and the tinfoil hat crowd, of which I proudly claim myself as a full-time member, lifelong member. I just don't believe what I'm being told anymore. That's all. I'm not. I don't believe that Adam Lanza was ever there. Maybe. I mean, we don't know anything about this guy, Adam Lanza. Nothing about him at all. So I have a problem with that. The Boston bombing was definitely weird. Everything is controlled. We never get to really find out what the shooter may or may not have thought or said. Everything is controlled. The information is controlled, just like it's being controlled now. So I don't know. I don't know what we're looking at with this latest shooting in San Bernardino. I'm alarmed by it. I'm saddened by it. But until the information comes out, we just don't know.
Like all these people that die, would they automatically go to heaven, go see God? Is that what happens after death?
Well, I think if someone's life is taken from them, I don't know what happens, and I'm not going to step into that Donnybrook, if I can use that word.
Yeah.
Just can't. There's no way of knowing. Their life was taken from them, so they never had an opportunity, perhaps, to even understand who Messiah really is. So I'm not going to touch that one with a 10-foot pole.
So Muslims, if they don't repent, that means they're all going to go to hell. Is that correct? That's one of my questions here.
Well, that's a really good question, and people always go there, don't they? They always try to make it sound like you're a religious fundamentalist if you say that. Look, if I tell you that basically the God of the Bible doesn't want anyone to perish, why don't we start there before we start backpedaling into absolutes here? First of all, we're told that the God of the Bible, the Christian God, does not want anyone to perish. So I don't know a Muslim's heart. Let's say he's never heard the gospel, all right?
Right.
Or let's say someone 500 years ago that lived in the Americas never heard the gospel, pre-Columbian, 600 years ago, okay, 700 years ago. I got to keep going back further. But they never heard the gospel. Those people were judged on how they live. And I'm not going to step into that. And you don't know either. We only know that the God of the Bible is loving. And he doesn't want any man to perish. And they're judged. People are judged on what they know. So if they never know it, how can we judge them? How can the God of the Bible judge them on that? They're not judged that way. But if they hear the gospel and they come to an understanding of the gospel and they say, well, that's not for me, then they're judged. Then they're judged. And I'm not going to step into that because it's not mine to judge. You know, people always look at that. They always want an answer because it makes the person like me come off as a religious fanatic. But let's look at what the God of the Bible says, and he says very specifically that he wants no one that should perish, and that's why he sent his only begotten Son, that all men and women can have eternal life. That's why he came here. That's the whole deal. So read the Gospel of John. Whoever asked that question, read the Gospel of John. Maybe you've never read that. Sit down, open up the Bible, and just read the Gospel of John. It's a love letter.
It's a great book. I've read it. It's a great chapter in the Bible, and I read it a couple of months ago. It really is. It really is. And we have one final question.
Okay.
Okay. No, I was waiting because I thought you were reading something.
Oh no, I don't have it. I'm waiting for you. Okay.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that. Yes.
No problem.
Yeah. Final question of the evening. Can we trust Vladimir Putin to be on our side?
Well, Putin's not on our side. There's no doubt about it. Putin is siding with the Shia branch of Muslims, which is why he's backing the Iranians. We're backing the Sunnis. That's what's really going on here.
So this could this escalate into World War III?
We're already there. It's already happening.
It's already happening, eh? But this, how far do you think the rapture is?
Not a date setter.
Right.
No idea. But I think we're closer now than we were yesterday, by one day certainly. I think that the only way out of this mess may be up. I've stated that on the blog. You're not going to change the ideology of the mullahs. You're not going to change the ideology of ISIS. You're not going to change the ideology of abortion clinics. You're not going to change the ideology of those who are radical Islamists in this country. You're not. That's never going to go away. You're not going to change that. So for the Christian that longs to see the regime change, which is the coming of the Messiah, the second coming of the Messiah, we long to see that regime change. The only way out of this mess, frankly, may be up. And that, my friends, is a cosmic event. And frankly, I can't wait.
Hopefully it'll be soon. Hopefully.
That would be good.
Yes. Well, all right, LA, time's up. I want to thank you for coming on our show. It's been most informative. And I just want to say that again, folks, get his book, Days of Chaos. It's a great, wonderful book. And can you tell us where we can find your book?
Absolutely. LAMarzulli.net, LAMarzulli.net. You can avail yourself. And I just want to give it a plug here. Our new TV show is going to be starting fairly soon. Politics, Prophecy, and the Supernatural. That's what it's called. The website is ppsreport.com. I will be doing videos on a daily basis and a half-hour show pretty much on a weekly basis. So we're excited about that, and we hope to launch that maybe in the next couple of weeks, definitely after the first of the year.
All right, thank you very much for coming on the show.
Thanks, Robert. Appreciate it, man. Good hearing your voice, and Merry Christmas to you.
Yeah, same to you. Merry Christmas. All the best. Talk to you soon.
All right, take care.
Take care. Bye. That was a great show, wasn't it?
Yeah, very great. Susie said that it ended.
What ended?
The show. She's starting all over.
No, she refreshed.
Oh, okay. Phew.
Every time we do the show, there's always like some kind of mess over here, you know?
No, but it got recorded. It got recorded. It's just that.
It started at the beginning here online. Okay, no. The thing is, we're just at the end of the show, just about now, because she got back. Yeah, so a lot of information. I mean, with the Sunnis, the Shias, ISIS, and to that, what happened to then San Bernardino, and there is that the Middle Eastern link right there. So I would think that there is something up. They're probably gonna say ISIS did it. I wonder if it's domestic or if it's abroad that this was done.
We'll know. We'll find out eventually by a couple
By
of
our
days.
By our research, that we always do, you know.
Yeah,
So
it's very important to do research. People have to realize that no matter what, always look at stuff, try and get your researches out there.
exactly. Any final thoughts, Mario, before we end the show for tonight?
No, I mean, it was good. We got a lot of information, you know. It's always great when we get guests on, you know. It's great.
Yes.
You?
No, I have no final thoughts. I'm gonna go research some more on the San Bernardino shooting. I'm gonna go look into that more, and that's it. So we'll see you next week with another great guest we're gonna have next week.
One last thing, don't forget to share,
Yes.
comment, like this show, do what you can to get it out there because it was good.
Because without you guys, we'll be talking to ourselves, and sometimes we do, and it's better we talk to you guys than just talk to ourselves, right? So God bless you. We'll see you guys next week, God willing. Take care, guys.
We'll try and be back. Hopefully we don't get shot or we don't see that woman with her phone talking.
Yeah, exactly. We don't want to see that.
There's trouble, or we'll see some actors out in the street because there's always acting going on here in Montreal. But that's it. We're out of here. Thank you for watching. You guys are the greatest. And
Love you all.
keep praying. Get on your hands and knees and keep praying because that's the only way we can get out of all this mess. All right. Thank you. Have a good night. Bye.